This isn't just another podcast. We're crushing the taboos and we're rewriting the rules. It's the space where we normalize women becoming wealthy. If you're done playing small and ready to become the CEO of your life and the architect of your future, then my girl, you're in the right room. Welcome to your wealthy era. Welcome to the Wellthy CEO podcast.
Hey friends, today's episode is one that I actually recorded last year when I was pregnant. Life was a little wild back then, but this conversation was way too good to not share. My guest, Kristen Nagle, is a former NICU nurse turned holistic health advocate. And in this episode, we dive deep into what it truly means to reclaim your power in health, motherhood, and money. It's raw, it's honest, and it's a reminder to trust your body and your inner knowing. So let's dive in. Kristen, thank you for coming on the Freedom CEO podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So it's funny because we met online through mutual passions, beliefs, desires during, call it like the COVID era, and then we had the opportunity to hug and meet up last September, which was so amazing and great. And since then, I have just seen you grow in your businesses and your different revenue streams. And I was like, I'm inspired watching you. You have a very cool trip coming up, which we'll talk about in a moment, to celebrate you and your success that you've done in your business. And so I was like, you got to come on the show. We have so many cool things we could be talking about that are going to help elevate women and inspire them. So before we dive into like the goodness that you have going on, share with me a little bit, who is Kristen? What's your journey? What's the background been? And yeah, tell us a little who you are.
Yeah, I'll try and wrap it up in Cole's notes version. So I'm a wife, a mama to three, first and foremost. But my background was in nursing. I was a nurse of 14 years. 12 of that was spent in the neonatal intensive care unit, taking care of micro-prems, and that's what I did. I was a nurse. And I believed in everything I did, everything I was a part of, and that's all I knew. Until my life completely changed when my first son was born in 2015. And I think as parents, we expect our lives to change, the lack of sleep, a being to take care of, but we don't anticipate the entire path and trajectory that they can take us on, and the journey that they are here to teach us. So my first son was born in 2015, and it was this like pressing on my heart. It like kept coming over me. Look into what you're going to feed your baby. What are you going to feed your baby? And I was like, well, I'm a pediatric nurse. Of course I know what to feed my baby. I took it in nutrition school. Like, I know. And it was like, look into it. And so I did. And I was like, that was my first entryway into the world of, the corruption that we all, find our way through different doorways. And mine was through food. And I was just mind blown about the lies that we're told about what to feed our children and what to, start them on, like fortified rice cereal. Like, why? Like, that doesn't make any sense. They can't digest grains. And why are we fortifying food when they can have the real thing? So I became really passionate about food, wanted to get this information out to parents, enrolled at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And then that was it. It was game over for me, because that's when all the light bulb moments went off.
Right.
And it was, health is so easy. Health is so easy. We complicate everything. And why don't I, as a nurse who's supposed to be in the health industry, why don't I know any of this? Why aren't we taught this? Why aren't I doing this? Why aren't we actually helping people to be healthy? And it was that, they don't want us to be. They don't want us to be healthy. They don't want us to have this power. They want us to be sick and lifelong customers and controlled. And that's when my whole life changed. So my second son was born in 2018. I did not immunize him. That was the next progression, went from food. If I'm so concerned about food, well, what are we putting in our children's bodies?
Right.
And I became a fierce advocate for childhood immunizations, got in trouble with my College of Nurses then.
Of course.
It got all wrapped up in about 2019. Took the slap on the wrist. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But I walked out of there saying, but if they ever come after my children, try to mandate anything on them, there's nothing that's going to stop me from speaking out. And I just didn't expect that to come so soon after. And then here we were in 2020. saw the writing all over the door, what was happening, and I could not stop myself from speaking out, which led to my termination in early 2021 for speaking out about masks and lockdowns. And I continued to be a voice for Canada and raising awareness and concerns about everything that was happening. And that's kind of, the first, part of the story. Lost my job, and had to try to figure out new ways to survive. I was speaking out, being an advocate, and then my daughter was born in 2023, which brought a whole other journey to my story that we can get into in a bit later.
Oh my God. I freaking love it. Like, so powerful. Like, and you're right, when there's no money in healthy people, right? Like the health industries, there's like, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, beauty and wealth, like sure, spas, wellness, all of that stuff. But the real money and the residual money is keeping people sick, like you said, and having to be reliant on prescriptions and drugs and all of these things. And so it's interesting. You started with food, you segued into immunizations. And I want to ask you, what was your like aha moment? Because this is pre-COVID. This has nothing actually to do with the jab, whether you took it or not. You were on this path, on this journey before that. So what was it for you that you had an aha moment in what you were diving into? The research? Was it somebody who had an experience? Share with me a little bit on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I try to have compassion with people because I think of myself. And I was a completely indoctrinated nurse who believed in childhood immunizations, who thought home birth should be illegal. My now like dearest close friend, I thought I cannot be friends with her. She doesn't vaccinate her children. Oh my
Right.
gosh. Like there's little moments like that. And then seeds were planted. Enough of it was coming into my awareness. Going to holistic nutrition school, I kind of thought like, well, it was one thing after the next. I'm like, I'm so concerned what I'm feeding my children, what's going on in their bodies, but what is being injected into them?
Sure.
And I didn't look actually at the ingredients. I did the opposite. I went to the diseases. I was like, that's another thing they don't teach us in nursing school. It's like, yep, diphtheria, mumps, measles, rubella, rotavirus, all these things. I'm like, okay, but what really are they? How do you get them? How do you acquire them? What's the worst case scenario? Are there other treatments? What can be done? And when I
Right.
dove deep into those chil- childhood illnesses, my entire fear went away. I was like, I don't need to worry about these. Like my children are healthy. We have sanitization. We have great food. They nutrition. Like all these things that are not a concern in our world now.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I don't fear these anymore. And then I looked at the ingredients, the adjuvants, the formaldehyde, the aluminum, the mercury, all the things that are in them, the aborted fetal cells, and I'm like, why would I put that into my baby's body?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was, yeah, other people around me, but then I did a deep dive, and from that led me into a controversial subject, which was viruses and exosomes. Do viruses exist? And I landed on no, viruses do not exist. Contagion is a myth. That's a whole other conversation. But
I know
that
as you're saying that, I'm like, well, you can't just like say that in passing and then be like, yeah, like, okay, like, oh, just throw that under the rug
I
there.
know. I was like, I don't know how much time we have to talk about it, but that's where all my fear went away because it was a whole other thing that I just dove so far into researching books, documentaries, studies, looking at the research, the papers, people talking about things, and I did land on viruses don't exist. Viruses are exosomes in our body. There is no contagion. And that removed, again, all my fear. And then I came, to faith and being like, well, God created us perfect. We're perfect. And
Yeah.
when my baby, my second son was born in 2018, I remember looking at him and I'd already decided no immunizations for him and looking at him, nurturing him, breastfeeding, watching him grow and just like thinking, how did I ever think you needed anything outside
Right.
of yourself and me and what God
Totally.
has created within you?
Yeah.
And watching him grow into this vibrant,
Yeah.
healthy being, it just became just so convicted in me that there is nothing that you need.
Yeah.
You don't need a man made synthetic poison
Totally.
injected into your body when you're so perfect the way you are. And it was literally watching my second son just grow and
Mm.
just in observing. and just thinking like, you don't need this. And, he's 6 years old now, healthy. My oldest son, I stopped him at 18 months. And I just think, no, like it's been such a lie that we've been telling parents, because it is a ton of money. It's another money grab, and kids are getting sicker. There's more things happening to our children and SIDS, and no one wants to look at that. It's a conversation
100%.
that cannot be touched.
Yeah. So, I mean, a few things that you've said that I think are just like worth circling back on. Like, we all, if you're tuning in and listening to this, we all got here, regardless if you believe in a creator or not. I also like looking at like critically thinking, logically thinking, like for centuries, millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people went without GMO, synthetics, any type of immunization, and survived, like got to this point, right? And so it's really only a newer thing, especially in quote unquote Western medicine, right? Like in Western culture, where everything is fake, everything is synthetic, everything is fast, everything is rushed. Let's poison in order to protect, like use poison in order to prevent illness. Like there's a lot of contradictory oxymorons that take place that when you actually stop and think about it and critically think about it, you're like, yeah, that's actually true. Like I'm here today because millions upon millions of people survived before we even got here. And the other thing that you mentioned is about the body. And regardless, again, if you believe in a creator or not, I share the same belief as you. I believe that we are created by God. Regardless, you can't dispute that there is intelligent design within the body. The body is still the most complex, advanced machine, if you will, that humans have seen. And so that intelligence that is within, when you just look at even the placenta that forms in a woman's body during pregnancy, that alone is miraculous. The gap is that we're not really taught about that, right? Like when I even think of like us growing up in school, and even if they were to teach it in school when you're young, do you really care about the placenta and the body? Probably not. Like you're not really, like you're skipping class on that, or like you're not paying attention, especially today for kids like on their devices, right? Like you're probably not paying attention to that. But I don't recall us going through this full anatomy. Yes, like, you have organs, but like literally talking about what your body can do, what it produces, and everything that the baby needs within the womb to coming out and surviving is passed on and transferred. And then even breast milk alone. I feel like you and I could probably talk more, especially you, about just breast milk and the placenta. That could be a whole episode on its own around like the nutrients and the minerals and the healing benefits, right, of both those things. And so even if you're listening to this, because we don't have time today to like derail and go just into that, there's so many other things that I want you guys to hear from Kristen, because it's just amazing what you're up to right now. But like, do the research on that. Like, there's a reason why placentas are being sold for $50,000 and up on the market in the US. I don't think it's legal here in Canada to do that. You would know that.
Doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Sure, black market. But regardless, there's a value, and you're seeing, I don't know if you've seen them lately. I feel like I've seen them more that, it's the husbands being like, oh, I just found out that the placenta is worth $50K. And they're like putting it in a freezer container. And they're like, well, mom is just like giving birth, like sneaking off to go sell the placenta. It's funny, but like you're remembering that, but take it a step further. It's like, why is the placenta so valuable? Like to your point. So I couldn't agree with you more. My journey, just to share with you a little bit on that, started probably in really a deep dive in 2019. I have a dear girlfriend that put me on this whole path of like chemical free, toxic free, going back like 15 years ago now. None of her children are vaccinated. And I was always so curious about it, but I never really did like a deep dive until like 2019. And so I had actually I had a WhatsApp channel and I had like 20 people on there. And it was like, I'm watching this like docu-series on like every day was a different immunization, the research, the side effects, the illnesses that are coming out, the increase in autism, all of these things, right, in children. And so it was so unique timing, which for me is so divine, because once 2020 hit and I was like, oh yeah, I know what's coming, it's coming. And like, for me, there's no way, like there is absolutely no way. And so I love that your journey actually, and I'm sure you have this similar experience. It was like, you just had this full armor on going into 2020, and 2021 was like, no, not falling for it. I'm already well equipped. I already know. And so it's more of a reason why your voice is needed, because so many people aren't on this journey because we've not been given permission or the space or even like the question to question, right? So it's wild. Okay, so tell me, in 2020, obviously you lost your job, you had to pivot.
Yes.
So now what was the journey in that for you? And like, what was your experience in that? You're a mom, you have 2 kids at this time, or you have 3?
2 at this time.
2 at this time. Okay. So still busy household, no job, partner. Yes. But it's going, okay, we were used to having a dual income and now we're down 1. And how did you pivot? How did you navigate through that?
Yeah, it's really interesting how things happened. And 2019, I was on maternity leave with my second son. My husband's a teacher, and we just thought, oh my gosh, we have the summer off together. We need to do something. We bought this old tin can of a trailer, kind of fixed it up, and we decided to take it across Canada. Went out to Vancouver Island and back, and we just thought, this is life. Like, this was the most fun we had enjoyed as a family, outdoors, all of it, and came back to our big house. And I remember just never really even before that, just this house, it was our second house. We renovated this first beautiful little house we had, but we thought we needed more with a family, checking off the box. So got this big house. And I just remember thinking, we're so house poor. We're so house poor. Everything's going into this, and we want to be in this camper, and we just want to have this life with our family. And what is, we just want to enjoy living. And so we did one more trip the next year in 2020 when things were kind of crazy starting, but we did east that time only through Quebec. And when we came back, we're like, okay, it's time to shift. The market had jumped, as you know, you're in this world. The market had jumped in 2020, and we're like, time to take advantage. And so we came back immediately after that trip because we're like, this is ridiculous. This is how we want to live. Like, so we sold high and bought low and downsized our entire house so we could, have more life, more living.
Yes.
And in that, it was the biggest blessing because that happened in the fall, October of 2020, and I was suspended by November 2020.
Wow.
And so thank goodness we had done that and pivoted because I was out of job, out of pay early on that time. And my husband was still bringing in income. And so that's kind of for the first few years, I was boots on the ground on the fight, Canadian frontline nurses. Thank God we had downsized. My husband was able to support until 2021 when he was put on unpaid leave. And this is the part that kept bothering me. People kept coming to me and telling me they didn't have a choice. Well, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. I had to. I had to. And I'm like, you're coming to the wrong person because everyone has a choice. It doesn't mean that we like our choices or the consequences that come from that choice, but we all have a choice. And you just choose which consequence you want to be in, but there's always a choice. So we chose to downsize. I chose to speak out, lose my job. My husband then decided that he wasn't going to comply with what he was being told, and now we're both out of a job. So what did he do? He had a truck. He put his truck up on Facebook and said, "Hey, a friend with a truck, what do you need done?" Ended up getting a ton of different work with that Then he found something in couch flipping, picking up couches for free, selling them for almost $200 more. That became kind of lucrative. It was kind of crazy. And then he was doing these odd jobs like eavesdrops cleaning, yard work, like work that you don't want to do. But
Sure.
it was something that got us by in the meantime while we're navigating this. So we didn't have to sacrifice our values and beliefs, right? There's always
Right.
a choice.
Yes.
And then come 2023, I was pregnant with my daughter. Didn't know I was having a girl, but pregnant. And I was like, okay, I'm done with the fight. Like, I can't be fighting this anymore. Boots on the ground, giving up this negative energy while I'm pregnant. I would need to protect this
Yes.
space. And it's like, plus, I'm fighting these systems that I don't want to be a part of. I don't want to go
Yeah.
back in there. I don't want to, be part of any of it. I don't belong there. I want something totally different. So it's time to put energy into creating. So my whole pregnancy, I protected, didn't really do much. After she was born, it was like, okay, well now what? Because I'm not
Yeah.
fighting. We need to do something and shift. So I've started different services on my own, KristenNagle.ca, through, herbs, foraging guides, courses. I'm still figuring this out. And I think this is the part you kind of wanted to talk about is just the starting and the doing and the figuring it out. And there's always something. And then I joined 7K last year around this time in June. And that's buying dealer direct prices, gold and silver, through a membership base, and it's done like well for us.
Yeah.
That's just given us a buffering. That's what it is. It's given us a buffer to help get by as we figure out all these other decisions and continue to move forward and continue to create. And then we've also added on the Reclaiming Birth conference. So lots of endeavors, lots of things, and just trying to move forward as best we can. And yeah, so we can never be trapped. I never want to be trapped or coerced into doing anything that I don't want to do. I am always
100%.
making decisions based on values and beliefs, not on circumstance.
Well, and this is the gateway, and this is the blessing and the opportunity that comes with entrepreneurship, right?
Mm.
Most entrepreneurs will tell you that the 9 to 5 is easier. Entrepreneurship is definitely not an easy journey. It's easy sometimes, but it's definitely it's a roller coaster. It's got its up and downs, especially in the beginning. But the trade-off is choice. The trade-off is freedom. The trade-off is control over your schedule, over your life, over your family. And the trade-off is you have unlimited opportunity, right? Like, you don't have a cap. Like, the more you learn how to bring in multiple revenue streams, the more you advance your systems, where you start working less because you have systems in place to pull in more, right? Like making money while you sleep. Like you just mentioned, you've got your courses, which I'm sure there's mornings you wake up and you're like, just made some money this morning, while I was sleeping. And like, that's the goal, right? Like that is the opportunity that entrepreneurship affords and offers. And I love your story because it's not often that you have two people that are non-entrepreneurs that both leave the quote unquote safety net of the 9 to 5 benefits, pension, etc. And then you like jump into this like unknown of entrepreneurship. And obviously your circumstance, it was more you were pushed out and forced to do that because you made a decision. You both made a decision. But now you're like navigating, going, okay, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm just going to dive into entrepreneurship. And so what I want to ask you is, in this path, this like endeavor that you've gone down, there's so many different things that you could choose, right? Like literally endless. So you just named off like 6 different things that your husband started doing. And those, if he stuck with like one of those things, that could turn into a full-on blown business, in itself. And so you can always make money. There's always ways to do that. And you decided to jump into 7K. So what was it about 7K that for you was like, yeah, this is where I want to invest my time?
Hmm. Yeah, when it was introduced to me last June, it just kind of seemed like a no-brainer because again, I was like trying to get back on my feet, find a way to bring in other income streams and diversify. My husband and I already knew the value in purchasing silver and precious metals. We didn't have a big lump sum to throw down and purchase gold, but we were acquiring a bit of silver whenever we could. And then when it was brought to my attention of like, okay, gold and silver, fractional buying. You can buy with no minimum, no maximum. It means like I can start buying little bits of gold and start getting my own gold. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was that opportunity of like, and if I refer, if I enjoy it, I might be able to earn an income with this as well. I was like,
Right.
this seemed like a win-win. And some people hear that referral marketing, direct sales, network marketing, and they're like, nope, and they don't want to hear any more about it. And they shut it down completely. And I'll be honest, I've done a couple before. I did it in supplements and it was a lot of money out. And products, maybe I was making myself healthier. I don't know. I don't even believe in supplements anymore. But at the end of the day, I was left with nothing, right? Just a lot of money went out. What are we left with? I don't know.
Right.
And, but this, when I weighed out the pros and cons, it was like, okay, well, we're already buying silver. Now we have an opportunity to continue buying gold and silver with all
Yeah.
these other benefits. And if I make an income, amazing. If
Right.
not, I am
Yeah.
still left with physical assets that I want to
Totally.
have anyways. So
Yeah.
there was like, it was a win win. And fortunately enough, we have also been able to earn an income with that and
Mm-hmm.
use it out in our life or put it back into gold and silver and keep acquiring, assets that are for savings for later on for our children, whatever that looks like. But yeah, so it it just was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
I think I'm involved in 7K. I have a membership, and I'm like one of those people that 3 words that I run through myself all the time is automate, delegate, eliminate. I'm always asking
I love
myself that,
that.
right? Like, what can I automate in my life so I can do it one time and never have to do it again and have my systems for everything in life, like groceries, my cleaner. Like, I don't think about it with my cleaner. My cleaners come robotic. And unless there's a conflict, then I change it. Otherwise, it's like it's already set and done, And so automate, delegate, and eliminate. And this is one of these things where I really love that I could just set it and forget it. So every month I get an email going, your metals are on the way, being shipped. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. It's that time of the month already, And so it's just stacking. And, I think what I also love about 7K, and you tapped in on this. So I've been acquiring. It's an interesting conversation when you talk about our precious metals and investment. I do think that there's an asset value around it that does appreciate, and therefore it can be classified as an investment. Absolutely. For me, I look at it more in the category of an insurance policy.
Yes.
Right? Of
Yeah.
in case shit happens and the dollar goes to crap now or in the future. And you've seen like precious metals are also volatile. They go up and they go down, they go up and they go down. But when you look at the history trend, it's gone up, right? Like, and also another name for it is called God's money, and meaning it's not man-made, it comes from the earth. It's not that it's an unlimited resource, but it's God's money. It's there, and it's a resourceful from the earth to us as a gift. But that trend has gone up year over year when you look at 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And so twofold, as an investor myself, I own real estate, you own real estate. You definitely want to have that in your portfolio, but you also want to diversify. You don't never want to have all of your eggs in one basket, right? Like you never want to have all your money just chilling in the stock market. You certainly don't want all of your money in precious metals, and you don't want all of your money in real estate. And there's many different reasons for that, which we're not going to go into that right now because that's not what this conversation is about. But I think, it's important, especially in the current climate that we're living in and the economy globally with what's happening. And you look at currency and inflation going up and interest rates going up and the value of the dollar going down is not by accident right now. It's intentional. And when you look at huge, big time investors behind the scenes, and you look at even some of the big banks, and then you look at the BRICS nations and like what's being formed and what they are acquiring, it's gold, it's precious metals and silver. And so for people listening, it's so important that you start having these conversations in your household and that you just start. And the biggest barrier of entry that I have found, and this is why I love 7K, and you brought this up, is that there's no minimum requirement. For years, I've been investing in precious metals. So I have gold and silver with another miner that's here in Canada. But the minimum to get in is $10,000 that you would have cash that you're purchasing metals. And a lot of people don't just have $10,000 or even $5,000 just chilling in case shit happens. They're going to like buy something, you know, like that's hard for a lot of people to swallow. And so that's a barrier of entry for so many people where they go, I understand why I should diversify. I understand I should get gold and silver, but I don't have that much money that I could be able to just put aside and forget about it. Okay. The second is not knowing who to trust, because there's a lot of unclean metals on the market today that you could go to a dealer and it's not pure 24 karat gold. It's not pure silver. And so it's like, how do you know that what you're getting and what you're paying for it is actually worth what you're paying for it? And so this is what I love about 7K as well, is there's no minimum. So whether you have $100 today, $500 tomorrow, or you just want $50 every month, you're able to just start and stack it, make it, automate it, set it, forget it, and just start building that. And you can change it anytime. And like you said, you know, you can also cancel your automations anytime too. Like that's also no problem. Like if you want to deposit, and they are so transparent with where they mine, how they get their metals, and the third party testing. Like there's all kinds of really fantastic things that 7K does. Besides benefits you get of being a member, that for me, it was like, okay, well, this is like such an easy yes. Like I don't have to spend another 10,000 or 5,000 or even 1,000. I can just do it. And that's what I have. I think mine's 185 US every month. So call it like 225. And I just set it and forget it, you know, and you could change it. You could stop at any time. And so watching you excel in this, and then the current global climate, I was like, you need to come on here and just share like your growth and like how you're winning. And you've not been in this long. And so I actually can't wait to see you next year and see where you are. But I want to congratulate you because you're leaving tomorrow to go where? Tell us where you're going and why you're going.
Yeah, tomorrow my husband and I are heading out to Idaho to head down to Salmon River in the mountains
So
at
cool.
the Salmon River Lodge, which is the Lifestyle Founders Getaway. So I was able to win a trip with 7K and get to spend 4 days with executive corporate team and the four founders that created 7K in the mountains, fishing, horseback riding, river rafting. I was like, oh my gosh, like speaking right to my soul, like get me
Yes.
out in the outdoors and, you know, everything. And it's just incredible. So I'm really excited. And thank you so much. I will say thank you for seeing me and saying all of that. It makes me kind of emotional and I want to cry because um, the entrepreneurial world is very hard.
Mhm.
And coming at it as a nurse, you know, we're tricked into believing that we're critical thinkers and that we're, you know, doing all these things, but we're just order followers. And it's a hard pill to swallow when you wake up to that you're just there to take orders and follow. So coming out to be an entrepreneur, we actually do have to think and create and set your own schedule and do things on your own. It's been very hard and I've struggled a lot with it. None of it has been easy, but I know that I have to keep showing up and keep trying and
Yeah.
keep moving forward despite all the fails. And I feel like I'm so far behind and I'm not getting anywhere. So the fact that you recognize that and wanted to bring me on, it makes me emotional because I have to keep reminding myself that I started. And like you said, it's the starting and just staying in and keep going. I don't know why I'm getting emotional.
No, I love it. Just allow it. You know, I think it's such a beautiful response. And I think it's that subconscious, like you're speaking to your subconscious of this reminder that like you took a risk and you took a bet on yourself, number one. And you had to believe in yourself maybe when other people didn't, or like, you know, the circumstances around you we're like, you're not going to be able to do anything else because you got let go, and there's so much so much pressure, so much doubt, all of that can come with. And I've watched you in a short period of time. Like, I don't even think it's been is it been a year? Like 1 year now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, but like, it's just been like a year. Right. And so to think like you're going on this trip tomorrow because you earned it, like you earned your place through dedication, commitment, belief, perseverance, tenacity, sleepless nights, like all of the things. This is the hardest it'll get until you're in your next massive explosion growth. And then you'll go through all of this stuff all over again. And it'll be like, God, I like just finished climbing that mountain. What the F, right? But this is the entrepreneurial life. And I wanted to celebrate you and bring you on because I think so many women, especially, go, I wish I could do that. Or like, why not me? And
I got sick of saying that myself.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And like, it's available to you. And like, I just keep seeing how you are showing up. And I guess it is a beautiful reminder for you. Like, you are being seen, even by people who are not sending you messages to congratulate you or not sending you messages to be like, hey, come on my podcast to like talk about this. It's like you have silent fans that are watching, and it's the commitment and it's the consistency over time that all of a sudden one day it's just you're gonna hit a new growth milestone. It's just gonna like blow up for like, you're gonna be like, I don't understand where this came from. And it's like, well, it's all this work, all this time that's happening right now, And so I'm like proud of you for like this major shift that you're doing. And I love that it's in a commodity that is something that you should have within your investment portfolio. And that's why I asked like why you chose it, because you could do supplements. You did do supplements, but supplements are not an asset. Like there's no residual value that like you're going to hold up later in 10 years from now and be like, do you still want to buy these? And we're going to be like, oh, well, they expired like 10 years ago. So like, no, we don't want to buy those, but the gold, yes. Maybe if you had like a Chanel bag, Chanel's like one of the only clothing items that I'm like, you could get away with buying that now. And if you don't touch it, it'll be worth more money later. But besides that, like, you're probably not going to be able to trade in a market with a Chanel bag to as many people as you will with gold and silver if we need to come down to that. And so I think of like businesses that you could get involved with, or like entrepreneurship and like what you could be dedicating your time to. And I think this is one of the more brilliant, where it's kind of like a double whammy of like killing two birds with one stone, for your time, effort, output, and then like being able to generate revenue to like come in. So anything else you kind of want to share like in this space, like either lessons you've learned or what you would want people to hear from you around like building this business, or like what your thoughts are even on like gold and silver?
Well, gold and silver is like, if you touched on it too, that it is like insurance. It is wealth preservation. It will always stand the test in time. Our money has lost 97% of its value since the Federal Reserve was created. Like our money, the inflation, we're seeing it. They're just printing. It's just a debt currency. It means nothing. Whereas gold and silver has always retained value and continues to do so. So it is wealth preservation. It is insurance. And we were taught, there's someone that came and spoke at a conference, a wealth advisor, and saying 20% should have 20% of gold and silver in your portfolio. And you had mentioned diversifying. But what I have learned is that you just have to start. And that's the hardest thing for people, because, I could talk about, over the few years of fighting, it was, I had seen over $100,000 in fines faced against me. The 4 years of not working, all the things, like, it's not like we had this extra cash flow to put out. But I knew I needed to make a shift in my life and start and make a change in order to change the outcome that we were in. And so pulled out my credit card without any cash flow and just said, yes, get me started. Let's go, because I need to make a change. And I see this as an opportunity to do that. And had I not said yes at that time, I would not be here a year later. And it's amazing the difference a year can make by just saying, yes, it's time to change the trajectory. And a lot of people, we hear that, well, I don't have the money. When I save up, when I have this, when's that going to happen? For me, I know that, that saving, like it can be really hard to just get ahead and if you don't make a significant change to do that.
Yeah.
And so that is one is just getting started, and that you are going to face a lot of rejection. You're going to face a lot of rejection. You're going to face a lot of people that don't understand your vision, that don't understand you, and that you have to be okay with the rejection. And it's going to hurt, and it never feels good. But don't let it stop you from what you're doing. And it's always been, will always be a roller coaster. And you know this better than I do. I'm just talking about my first year being in this, and even starting out my own personal brand, KristenNagle.ca, and what that's doing, and the ups and downs. You're going to feel the low points, and you're going to feel like giving up, and it's going to feel really hard sometimes, and pushing against the grains, and all those things that you hear of, like, well, and you follow your heart, it's just going to be easy and it's all going to flow. It's all bullshit.
Yes.
You have to put in a lot of work. And yes, you can find things that, are part of your soul and that lights you up on fire and it feels good, but it's going to be a lot of fucking work to do it. So this whole thing, it'll all flow once you are in alignment, and it'll all come. No, like just ignore that, because that's going to set you up for failure, because you're going to think like, oh, if it's not flowing, then it's not meant to be. No, pull up your bootstraps and you have to get to work. And that's what I've been working on myself, is like, okay, stop with the self-doubt, stop with, letting this stuff, distractions get in my head. I'm, trying to pull up my big girl pants and like, okay, we gotta keep going. I have to, remember what I'm doing and keep moving forward.
I needed to pause just for a quick second. If you are loving this conversation and thinking every woman needs to hear this, you are right. So please hit that subscribe button, drop me a review, and help me flood the algorithm with real talk that actually matters. Let's get more women into their wealthy era together. Your support means so much to me.
It's interesting because you talked about rejection, and two things I want to just expand on, that I think in entrepreneurship, it's so important that most of us take things personally, and there's emotion in it. And in business, in entrepreneurship, you have to leave the emotion at the door. Like being quote unquote rejected, it's not about you. It's either you're misreading the person in front of you, that you're not meeting their needs and wants, and it's a misalignment, and that's about them. They're not interested in it, or you're not communicating it properly, so they actually don't understand it. It's really an opportunity for you to, one, get more clear on who your audience is and who your target market is, or refining your message. So instead of being offended or hurt that, oh my God, like they're saying no to me, it's like, okay, well, one of these two things, and there's more, but like those are the two main. It's like one of those two things. It's like, which one is it? And how can you learn from that? And when you start taking your emotion out of it and looking at it from there, you're not as upset, I don't think, because it's actually your opportunity to learn, to grow, and to refine your craft and find your people, like find who your target audience is, And the other thing around like rejection is, I think we have been so conditioned growing up that there's like this 3 strikes you're out policy, right? Like kind of in anything, you always hear this, 3 strikes you're out. My mom would be like, I'm going to count to 3. And if you're not here, then you're in trouble. Like, I don't know what it is about 3, but most of us have heard or grown up with like, try 3 times. And if it doesn't work, then you move on to something else. Like that means it's failure and it doesn't work. And I tell people, if you knew that you would get a yes at number 7 or 10 or 15, every time somebody said no, you would be like, maybe not okay, but you'd actually be excited because you're closer to getting to your yes. You're closer to getting to that win. And the saddest part is most people turn away and they stop right before that yes or that miracle was going to show up. And so it's like, keep going until you get the yes. And those yeses are so sweet that's what, and this from now experience, those yeses are so sweet that you're like, okay, I could do this all over again. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready to do this all over again because it's that good, and that's your refresher to keep going. Darren Hardy, he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs, but he's a silent mentor of mine. I've been studying him for years and years and years.
I love him. He does that amazing video or the audio videos with Jim Rowan's voice.
Yes.
I don't know if yes. Anyways, so good. Sorry, go on.
He's so good. And he's like, you may even know too, he's like more famously known for the compound effect and talking about, even if you're off like a smidgen on where you are planning to go, once you get there, if you're off that compound effect, he talks about start flying out in New York. And if you're planning to go to LA or like San Francisco, Washington, whatever, somewhere north, and if you're off by, I think it's something like a millimeter on the radar, by the time you get to the west side of the country, you're basically at the bottom of the state of California. And you're like, holy crap, like how? Like this was just a little off the mark, but that compound effect over time has detrimental setbacks, and that's like when you hear people going, they look back at photos of themselves in 5 years and they're like, how did I gain all this weight? Because you're not seeing it happening rapidly or instantly. It's this compound effect, little by little over time. Anyways, his journey actually started in real estate. He was a realtor in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And this is why I think I first heard about him in my early 20s when I was getting into real estate myself. And I think this is why I gravitated to him, because he was an agent. And I learned this lesson of falling in love with the word no and what we call rejection. He had a rule for himself. He would not go home until he got 50 no's on a door every single day. He went door knocking in San Fran. He was 18, 19 years old. His father was like a literally militant drill sergeant. It was yes, sir, no, sir in the household. There was no dad, no father. Yes, sir, no, sir. And he didn't want to be at home. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to move out of the house. What am I going to do? He got into real estate, was like, holy shit, nobody gives you leads. You got to go get your own business. So this was his rule for himself. Very extreme, because he got brought up in an extreme household. But it's not really extreme when you think about it in the world of business, but it felt extreme me listening to it in my 20s. And I'm sure when he was 18, 19, it felt extreme too. He literally, would you like an evaluation on your home? No. Would you like an evaluation on your home? No. And he would not leave until he got 50 no's.
Wow.
He was the youngest realtor in San Francisco at that time to do the highest sales. And I think he was in like the top or the top 2 highest performers, period, regardless of age. But he was both of those things. And that always stuck with me as a young person. And that's where I started to change my perspective on like, no's are just like opportunities. And like the win is coming. Like just keep going. Like it's coming. Forget about it. They said no, learn from it. What are one of those 2 options? Not your target audience, refining your message. Okay, cool. Move on. Practice again. So that's how, like, when you brought that up, I was like, oh, this is so good. I just want to like expand that a little bit,
No,
So
it's an important lesson because that's what can stop everyone, right? Like we're personal beings. We want to be in community. We want to be seen, heard,
100%.
loved, and we get that.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, like it hurts. What's wrong with us? What did we do wrong? And
100%.
it's not. And I've had to do that. I launched my first course this past year, and it wasn't the launch I was looking for, but it was the first course I'd made, first launch I had done, and it was all feedback and lessons. Okay, how do I refine it? How do I improve it? What do I do? How can I continue to grow on this? It was warrior mamas, and it was how to stand fast in your convictions to raise strong, healthy, and free children. And I'm going to continue to refine it and grow it because I know it is so important. And I'll get there. Just
I love it.
Keep going. It's just information, right?
You will. And okay, so this is a nice like segue because you shared with me before we came on today that you have something really amazing on the horizon that has to do in line with your other passion that you're just sharing about here with mamas and babies. So what's coming up? Tell us what's happening.
Yes. Okay. I know that we're over time, but I can only share this upcoming event with a story. And I started off this podcast with the journey my first two sons took me on. My first son, Logan, was the story of the journey of the body, physical health, nutrition. My second son was the journey of trusting our perfect divine design, trusting our bodies and our innate wisdom and in who we are. And my daughter brought forth my third journey and lesson, which is completely reclaiming our power and surrendering to who we are. And so my first two births were hospital births with epidurals, induced, the whole works, interventions, all of it. And that's what I believe to be normal. I was brought up as an NICU nurse. I thought birth was dangerous. I feared it. Thank goodness for OBs in the hospital and nurses and all of it. Until I learned differently. It took me until 2020. Birth is the last thing to go. I learned about food, nutrition, all these things, but birth is the last thing to go because it's the one that is the deepest programming in us of over 400 years and beyond. And so it was about 2020 when, distrusting of the hospital system and everything, all the stories I was hearing, I started to learn more and unveiling that last layer. And so working in birth and then starting to see what I was seeing, I was like, oh my gosh, it started to kill my soul. I was like, I can't be a part of this. I'm seeing the harms that we're creating in the hospital, the harms that we're doing with these babies. And when I learned about physiological birth, I remember my births were fine. They were uneventful with my boys, but I remember feeling robbed of an experience I didn't know existed that belonged to women, belonged to us.
Yeah.
And I thought, how many other women feel this way? How many other women are robbed? How many other women don't know there's a whole other opportunity or option out there, that we're not aware of? And so praise be, um, praise be to God. Sorry, I am faith led, and we were able to get pregnant again, and I call her my redemption birth, and
Beautiful.
ended up coming full circle. I was 39, 40 years old, which would have been a geriatric pregnancy in the hospital, and it was my most peaceful pregnancy I had ever had because I it was all me, meaning I took responsibility of my body. I tuned in. I, felt her, didn't know, it was a her at the time, but it was just me and her growing. I felt my healthiest. I was thriving. I trusted and was fully in peace where I didn't realize that I didn't have that with my first two pregnancies because I had handed over a responsibility waiting for everyone to tell me what to do. And, so she was born at home with my husband, a traditional birth companion, and a dear friend that was there. And it was the hardest, most amazing thing I'd ever gone through in my life. And it was amazing that it happened after all the fight, all the everything, after everything I'd been speaking out. It was like this full circle moment of totally coming into my full power that I didn't know existed in me. And she was born in my hands. And I just remember looking at her and saying, we did it. We did it. And it was just such a powerful moment to go through all of that, to go through the physiological birth, to feel it all, that I was like, I want everyone to know this is available to them, that it exists, that it's there to remove the fear around birth, to remove the misconceptions, the myths, the lies, and just get this real information out. When women do reclaim their power through birth and they realize how strong and powerful they are, they realize they can do anything. And in that moment, they reclaim their motherhood, they reclaim their femininity, they reclaim who they are. And that shows up in their relationships, in their businesses, in how they parent, how they fight for their children. They know that they can trust their bodies, they know that they can trust their children's bodies, they don't need anything outside of them. And it's not just birth. This is a trajectory that changes everything. So that's why I believe so much that if we can get it at birth, it changes the future.
I'm so grateful for you coming on today. Thank you for just sharing from your heart and being vulnerable. It's been such a pleasure to have you on.
No, it's been really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
If something in today's episode resonated with you or sparked a shift, tag me on IG or send me a DM. I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. And if it spoke to you, share it or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this show and step into their own wealthy era. Until next time, lead with purpose, live with intention, and stay wealthy.